Hi guys, welcome to Mindful Pulses. Very excited about starting this new channel. This is about providing some key insights about the news, sharing some life stories, and hopefully leave you with some insightful takeaways. My name is Frederick. I lived in over 100 countries, grew up in Africa, spent about 20 years in the US, built my dream house in Mexico, speak 6 languages fluently. I'm excited to have you on board. I hope you will join me on that journey. Welcome again. One thing that is very surprising to me is that the news in America in general is very narrow and filtered in a very extreme way, whereby we don't really know what's going on in countries like, Kenya or Madagascar or, Japan or Korea. It's very, very self-centered. I mean, we do hear from what's going on in Europe. And so I will be providing some insight into the stories that I hear that I think may impact you. But first, let me perhaps explain why I'm doing this. Selfishly, I think it's a good way for me to document some of my thoughts, some of my beliefs around some important themes that hopefully my loved ones, my 2 kids, my 2 sons will be able to relate to and connect back as the world of digital hopefully will survive me. I should mention that I'm just 51 years old as I'm shooting this video, but I am a survivor. I had some major heart issues, and I literally just had a bypass surgery just 7 months ago. I'm doing okay, but I'm gonna be taking advantage of making those vlogs and taking strolls, and the doctor tells me that's really good for me, so I do that as a way to also meditate and share some of my belief with you guys. So hopefully that will make sense. So look for a lot of insights. Hopefully, we will always start videos with a theme, and then discuss some of the news, and then I will share some life stories, some takeaways, and we'll leave you with a thought. Typically 20-minute videos. I am shooting this where I live now, which is in the San Diego area. Gorgeous area. Really enjoy living here. It is also bringing me closer to my beloved Mexico, where I have built some land many years ago, and then out of the blue, a little bit crazily, started to plan and build my dream house. There was absolutely nothing there. I literally brought water, electricity, internet, and I'll probably do a video from the house. It is about an hour north of Cabo San Lucas on the Sea of Cortez, called Casa del Azul, the House of the Blue. And I'm very passionate about Mexico, and I find it very sad that a lot of the news is very biased, flat out racist when they talk about Mexico, when Mexico is actually a relatively safe country compared to what we see in terms of gun violence, even here in the US, especially the area of Baja California. But that's for another video. In the meantime, I just wanted to welcome you again. I hope that you will subscribe to the channel. I hope you will share it with your friends, your colleagues, that you will like it so that the Google and YouTube algorithm can pick that up. And I hope to grow this channel to many thousands of followers. But today is day one. Today is graduation day. Literally my my boy Martin graduated from his 6th grade today, so it will be a date to remember, as I intend to make at least one video a day, unless I'm traveling or unable. So with that said, I think today we can talk about what is going on in Europe and the shocking news, maybe not so shocking news for someone who was born in Paris, even though I didn't spend that much time in France. I still have the French accent, as you can hear that. It's funny because I don't have it when I speak Mandarin Chinese. 我一点都不会有这种法国的口音嘛，我会讲中文的时候，你觉得嘞？ Or, you know, when I speak Russian, вообще замечательно, да или нет, базара нет. Or, you know, maybe a little bit when I speak español, por supuesto, pero a mí me parece que no, cuando estoy practicando español, pero a veces sí hay un poquito. Or, for that matter, Italian, or... But when it comes to what's going on, I think that this was expected. This was baked in. There's been an unbelievable number of illegal entering Europe, and France is really the only country that offers free healthcare, free education, and actually also gives families, I think it's up to $9,000 or $1,000 every month, which is insanity when you think about it, because it's 500,000 illegals a year, 10 years, that's 5 million for a country of, 65 million people. It is just not sustainable. So, we'll talk about this more in detail, but I actually think that I belong to the silent majority of this country, and to be honest, of any country, which is, fiscally conservative, but very much open to providing proper funding for education and obviously healthcare and helping your fellow men. But when it comes to managing a country, I would not, for example, when it comes to my own family, spend money that I don't have. So, I think the biggest challenge that we have today is tied to the incredible debt that was born from the indecision from the politicians to do anything about it, kicking the can down the road, which is a huge failure. And so in the context of Europe, you have massive deficits. You have a President Macron, who was pretending to be sort of a centrist, leaning a little bit on the left, but in fact he's a banker, and he's very much pro-Europe, and thinks that giving power to Europe and essentially erasing the power of states and countries is the way to go, which I totally disagree. I think that every country should still be able to manage their key guidelines and key policies, and Europe is only there for broader policies. But eventually, every country should have a veto right, right? And so there was a COVID crisis. There was what we say in French, quoi qu'il en coûte. Quoi qu'il en coûte means whatever it costs. And we've added, 1,000 billion euros to the debt. And we are now in a predicament where you have 200 attacks every day in France, usually knives attacks. You've got just a situation where people don't feel safe anymore. And look, I grew up in Africa, in many different countries: Kenya, Ivory Coast, the Seychelles, Mauritius, Madagascar. I've traveled all over Africa. I love this continent. Been to Morocco, you name it, Jordan, Israel. Actually, I remember that was over 20 years ago when Jordan and the frontier between Jordan and Israel opened up. I was there. So I absolutely adore those countries and embrace their culture. But I do not think that allowing thousands of migrants to just come without being vetted into Europe is responsible. There is clearly something that needs to be done as it relates to managing this increasing pressure from the south to the north, where because of the climate change and basically a lot of global warming that is affecting crop and making a lot of these populations miserable, we need to treat the issues at the root cause, not later on when it's too late, right? So again, going back to that fiscal responsibility that I think the vast majority of Americans, the vast majority of French, Italian, Spanish, Swedish, you name it, those people are silent, but essentially I think are walking the same line, which is we want and we recognize that there is a lot of pain in the world. We want to be able to help. We are okay paying, to a degree, taxes to help our fellow man, but we need to be a lot more focused and a lot more tight on processes and on the way we go about instigating policies and implementing them and executing them. And we very much want to maintain and defend what is the heart of any country, its culture. And so it is a very tricky situation. I think that the quote-unquote far right is going to win this time around. I think that this is long overdue. I don't know if they are necessarily capable to turn around the country, but I think a lot of people are fed up. And it's a little bit difficult for me to comment too much on France specifically, because I left the country over 25 years ago, and frankly I don't go back unless I go back to Saint-Tropez in the south of France, visiting my friends and kind of living the life, if you know what I mean. So I don't want to be coming across as someone who is not necessarily genuine when it comes to that topic. I recognize that I very much come as an American, which I am, and, enjoying the French Riviera. So I have a very different perspective on what France is, but at the same time, I have spent years over there. I still have family members over there, so I know what's going on as well. And it breaks my heart, because it is a beautiful country, and it is just going down. It is a country that is now becoming a country of service, very much like the US. We don't produce anything anymore other than maybe luxury items. But, the country in general and Europe in general is going to suffer. Now, if you put, in addition to all of this, the fact that there are clear and immediate danger with the situation between Ukraine and Russia, well, you have an explosive situation potentially. Very quickly, I think most viewer will realize that I am someone who is very, very optimistic. I believe that life is wonderful. I believe that even in dire moments of pain, of despair, there is always a silver lining. Here it is. a silver lining, and I think, you know, you have to be hopeful, but unfortunately hope is not a strategy, right? So just as much as when you feel bad, you have to push yourself to go for a run or go lift some weights and do the hard thing to feel better. The same is true when you want to address key fears. My fear for Europe is that I think Trump is going to be re-elected. Another video on that. And I think that he will most likely give away Ukraine. And I don't know if that will be enough for Putin to calm down and prevent him from, you know, invading other countries. But mark my words, I do think that we are in a very dangerous time, and it's a real shame, because, you know, we could do so much better, right? We could do so much better. And I think part of the reason for our failures, part of the reason for why we are where we are, is because men do not learn from history. Men are not educated in general and do not let go of their egos for the purpose of understanding, you know, what really is going on in the world and what is driving decisions. Geography is history. So every time you have a conflict, it's usually based on territory and geography. And the fact is, we just celebrated 80 years of the D-Day, 48 hours ago? So we haven't had a major conflict in all these years. So my biggest concern is that, you know, if there is another conflict, the weapons that we have developed now are so horrific that I don't know if we come back from that. So, you know, there's a lot of irrational decision, and I think that as a people, just like Europe is now voicing their concerns and voting en masse for a different direction toward the right, to stem the influx of immigration, we have a voice. We have a voice as a people. And I think that I will leave you today with my hope. My hope is that short of a third party, for example, in the US, independent party, to break that monopoly between left and right, I hope and I wish for the silent majority to rise up, and, you know, make themselves known or carry the weight of their beliefs and carry the direction that they want for their families and their kids. I hope that makes sense. I very much appreciate, again, you tuning in today for my first ever video of my Mindful Pulses. I hope that you'll subscribe to that video, that you will share it, that you will like it. I will see you tomorrow. We'll talk about the news, and I will share with you some insightful life stories of my time growing up in Africa. See you.